Animation, life is your creation. Well, there's dolls of all kinds in this fantasy movie. Jenny has all her dollies, and they're gonna come to life and wreak havoc here and there. Oh my goodness. Separation was directed by William Brent Bell, who directed such movies as Stay Alive, The Devil Inside, The Boy, and Brahms the Boy 2. So you know it's gonna be good, except it's not gonna be fucking good. I'm not gonna mix words. I fucking hated this movie, and it's funny that this is marketed as a horror, and an R-rated horror at that, when this could have been PG-13 easily and barely qualified for that goddamn rating. Outside of the subject matter, there really isn't anything, to quantify this being an R-rated movie. Now, I will keep this spoiler free for now, but when I saw, the list of movies that this guy has done, I was like, okay, this can't be as bad as those. Eventually, you gotta get something right. And maybe he's just being given shit material. I mean, this was written by Josh Braun and Nick Rock Me Amadeus. Rock Me Amadeus, Amadeus. Man, I would have rather had that goddamn song playing on a constant loop than hearing some of the dialogue in this fucking movie. So, you had characters like Jeff, played by Rupert Friend, who was also a producer. So that kind of makes sense as to why he got so much time. And then you had Jenny, Violet McGraw, who I know I've seen in other movies, and she actually didn't do that bad. She was a kid here. Samantha, Madeline Brewer, who's fucking gorgeous and really does the best she can in this. And Paul, played by Brian Cox. I thought that Brian Cox passed away a few years ago, I'm not going to lie. Maybe I'm just confusing that with seeing his time in The Ring. But Brian Cox was terrific in this as well, or at least as good as he could be. There's a couple name actors here, and there are some pieces that could work. This kind of reminded me a bit of like Dead Silence if you took any of the atmosphere, direction by James Wan, decent writing, and any of the fact that any of the puppets were remotely scary. No, these were just weird puppets that were like hodgepodge, like 5th grade art projects that were basically just thrown in there and say, hey, okay, it's like Puppet Master meets Brahms the Boy 2, which thankfully it's not quite as bad as Brahms the Boy 2. No, it's just really, really goddamn bad. So it's from Universal and Rainmaker Films, Rainmaker Pose. If any wrestling fans are watching this, you will get that. Okay, so this really isn't much of a spoiler. The opening credits, I think, is where they put their most of the budget, because they had these hand-drawn, really, really well-done, drawn, creepy images and everything. Because it turns out Jeff, the character played by Rupert, is an animator, and there's these cool storybook things and really, really good stuff. And the animators must have been on fucking trucker speed and all kinds of cocaine to write this stuff in real time. I kid. So, Jenny, who's the daughter, is basically communicating with, having a tea time with her puppets, the creepiest goddamn puppets in the effing world, if you just ignore any other puppets that were in horror movies. But for a kid, for an 8-year-old kid, that's a little bit weird, still kind of ridiculous. And she's up in the attic and everything, while her father is downstairs and everything, and talking, and then he's trying to do some animated stuff. There's a babysitter there, Samantha, played by Madeline Brewer, and she's, they're talking and everything, and the wife gets home, Maggie, and she's like, well, what the hell's going on here? What happened to our daughter? What's our daughter doing? She's playing in the attic. She's not supposed to be up there. And then she ends up getting spooked by this bird that flies in a goddamn window. One of the cheapest looking birds I've seen. And she ends up suffering an accident that basically leads to the parents getting a divorce. Well, then a certain event happens that kind of just makes that plan go tits up, because Maggie's kind of a rich bitch that's tired of taking care of her deadbeat husband, so to speak. And it turns out that now the husband has full custody. So Jeff has full custody of his daughter. But then weird things start happening. Weird shadows and all the jump scare noises and burn, burn, burn. That's all it was. It was just constant jump scare noises and constant bullshit. And we're going to have to search through. I can't tell if they're doing this for atmosphere or they couldn't afford goddamn lighting, because this movie probably had a budget outside of like the opening animation and maybe a couple of the, the monsters that they try to have. It probably had the budget of like, I don't know, $500,000, because it was not very well done. I feel bad for what anybody got paid for this goddamn thing. It was probably a contract movie, and they said, okay, we'll pay you enough, but you do this shit movie and we'll let you out of your goddamn contract. Because nobody of any reputable, name would actually star in something like this and think that they can make it any good. Whew. So, yeah, basically, from there, we have a horror movie with Jeff trying to take care of his daughter Jenny, and Samantha being around, stuff like that, and Jeff gets an offer from a friend of his to basically do this comic book art stuff and everything, and he gets this big project idea using the dark stuff that he's got in his head and the stuff he's going through and stuff he's experiencing at home and bringing the art to life. Now, there would have been a way to do this where you could have made it psychological and everything and stuff like that, because there are elements of a lot of horror movies that they kind of, put in a blender and everything and Human Centipede them together. And yes, I had to work that one in. They try to make it work. The problem is this movie is like 200% family drama, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but if you're marketing yourself as a horror movie, then you got to have some horror elements, and that's where the movie really falls flat. Had it just been a drama with a couple horror elements, that might have been fine. But it can't do the horror elements right, and the family drama stuff really starts to test my goddamn patience when everybody's just making dumb decision after dumb decision after dumb decision. And the villain, the person, because it is actually, somebody, that's at the head of this whole damn thing, it's never in doubt. It's never in goddamn doubt who it is. You know who it is, especially based on how this particular character acts and everything. And it gets worse and worse. The special effects are goddamn ass. The monsters, such as they are, actually there's one that kind of looks okay and everything, and they try to maybe Nightmare Before Christmas this bitch. But other than that, I mean, if you've seen We Happy Few, then you will get an idea, or you play that game, that is, then you'll get an idea of what one of the villains looks like. But there's a main villain, and it's shit. They had a couple routes they could have gone. They could have had it where this stuff's all in the guy's head and everything, but it's manifesting its way out. Or they could have had it where the daughter has psychic abilities, or maybe the mother, the mother did something or whatever and made a pact with the devil. No, they went with a traditional thing that was really one of the worst decisions they could go with. So really, separation is goddamn shit. I'm going to get into spoilers here, but it is really, really goddamn shit. I've avoided too goddamn long. Got to get into spoilers here. So 3, 2, 1. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Go. Spoilers. Okay. So the mother gets hit by a car about 20 minutes into the movie, and Brian Cox's character, because that was his daughter, blames Jeff. Understandable, considering that they were going through divorce proceedings, not Brian Cox and Jeff, but Maggie and Jeff. They were going through divorce proceedings where she was going to get everything because she was rich. He was kind of a deadbeat dad, even though he loved his daughter. And then she dies, and so he gets sole custody, and he gets, possession of the house and funds and stuff like that and everything. And oh my God, it's looking so good. And then there's stuff that starts happening, like these weird, marks end up on the daughter or whatever. Stuff starts happening all strangely. Samantha starts acting really goddamn weird all of a sudden. She's acting really, really flirty towards Jeff. In fact, she was doing that before Maggie had passed away. It's pretty goddamn obvious. Okay. It's pretty goddamn obvious who it was. I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. But basically, once we got to like a certain point, it was very obvious where it was going. Now, there are some supernatural element attempts. There's this one contortionist thing that kind of looks like one of the, characters from We Happy Few. And maybe Jeff's having dreams. Maybe he's not. He does get this job from this old friend that he ran into that has a comic shop thing that apparently like has a massive floor on a huge skyrise in New York. Like, it's insane. There's also this British guy named Alan that's very interested in the occult stuff and everything. He's just a character basically to eventually feed Jeff's creativity and then give him some stuff where it's like, hey, take this stuff that I just happen to have in my work office that anybody could get, and you can communicate with the dead. Why do you have this in your office? What the fuck? Does he usually do that for inspiration? Are there a lot of employees that are suddenly losing their families? Maybe Alan's behind this whole goddamn thing. No, he isn't. Nobody knows how to act like an actual goddamn human. Jeff barely knows. The Jeff character, they try to flesh him out and everything, but he's a confused dad, which, yes, dealing with that loss can be difficult, but it just gets worse. And the daughter, bless Violet McGraw, she tries, but she's uneven as well. And Madeline Brewer just is, I mean, again, she's absolutely beautiful, but she just can't, she has no depth to her character. Ryan Cox is a typical, grandfather that is just trying to protect his granddaughter, but Brian Cox can only work with, so much with so little material. And basically from there, we see a bunch of, monsters and stuff like that, and this weird shadowy creature that they keep seeing that they're both, drawing pictures of. And it turns out that's the incarnation of the mother. And the mother basically is upset at what's going on with, everything, because she knows what happened. I Know Who Killed Me. No, it's not that movie. She and had Lindsay Lohan. It was so goddamn bad. I need to rewatch it. I may retro review it. But it was so obvious. What happened was Maggie got hit by a car that was driven by Samantha, because Samantha didn't want everything taken away from Jeff. That's basically what it came down to. And then they tried to do elements of Mama, where like Mama was this possessed, this crazy spirit and everything. Victoria go, Victoria stay. Need to retro review that one too, because that was a better movie. Del Toro was involved in it, so of course it would be infinitely better than whatever the fuck this was. But the thing is, it's like, I keep watching this, I kept thinking it would get better. And again, there are elements of a movie, or some movies, that could work under either better direction or just with any kind of funding or whatever. And it's just William Brent Bell doesn't seem to know what he's doing. And it's certainly not as bad as Stay Alive, I'll say that much. And it's a little bit better than Brahms the Boy 2, but it's definitely not better than The Boy. It's definitely not better than The Devil Inside. Devil Inside is not much better than The Devil Inside, even with that sudden ending where they just get in a car crash. Sorry, spoiler alert, it's been out for 9 fucking years. So yeah, Maggie ends up, as this ghostly, demonic puppet thing, ends up leading to the death of Samantha. And then, because Samantha at one point, and it's so fucking obvious, Brian Cox's character, he eventually figures out who it is, oh my god, and then he gets shoved down the stairs and seemingly breaks his neck, but is going to be okay. I don't understand how. So it looks like he broke his neck. But Sam ends up, I was just going to call her Sam for short, she ends up getting, because she made the pants too long, she ends up getting killed. And then the parents are fighting this ghostly apparition and also, Maggie. Thank you! No. The parents are arguing, the daughter doesn't want to see them fight. And Jeff ends up showering her with his love and falls down and everything because he had said to Maggie, look, she's our daughter, but now she's my daughter. You're no longer here. I didn't have anything to do with this. And there we go. They're all happy-go-lucky. They're in the same goddamn house. Did Mommy save us? Maybe she did. And then we get a mid-credits scene. Yes, this movie of all movies got a goddamn mid-credits scene, where there's a new painting, because earlier in the movie there was a painting that, a burn happened and his face ended up getting all stretched out like it was one of the characters from Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Look at all my video game references of shit that I haven't played in a long goddamn time. But it's a new painting and everything, and it's in the shadows, but you can tell it's the mother as the puppet. And then the weird, We Happy Few creature crawls up and is like doing this, and it's hinting at a sequel. No, fuck that. Fuck the. Watch them try to retcon this and have it be where the puppets are possessed and they try to Brahms the Boy to this shit. They would do that. They would do that. It gets an F, by the way, in case you didn't fucking figure it out. This is one of the worst movies I've seen this year. I'm trying to catch up on a whole bunch of 2021 releases, and I'm not going to get to the 138 I did, for last year, and that was in addition to a bunch of other retro stuff that I watched, but I'm going to try to watch as many as I can. Hope they're better than this. Anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.